that keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. It's time to talk about guys who cover the deep half of the field, or the deep third, or come up in the box and make the play, horse. We're going to be talking about safeties in the draft.
Yeah, there's safeties, not the depth of a class as corners was, but there's definitely some good ones in here, and some guys we really like, so I'm excited to talk about it still.
No, absolutely. This is a huge thing. There's some people who definitely think the Niners need to add some depth at safety. There's some questions there. Is Tavarius Moore going to be a guy that you can rely on and trust all season long? Can Jimmy Ward stay healthy and on the field? It might be a position they need to address here in the draft. There isn't that many options out there in free agency either for them to go after, so the best way to do it may be through the draft. It's just a matter of when they go after these guys. And we're going to break down guys we think fit in this scheme, and who they could go after and when they could go after them.
Yeah, I think there are big questions, especially Tarvarius Moore coming into the last year of his contract. Will the 49ers decide to extend him in the future, or do they need to just move on and go young? We're going to see. This is going to be a big season for safeties, but I think the 49ers are going to address this in the draft with some sort of move. I don't think they're going to make a huge splash move, but they could. Horst, what do you think about Trevon Moehrig?
Trevon Moehring's a big, talented guy out of TCU. He's put up a lot of numbers in his years there. He did play this year, which gives him an advantage over some other guys. I actually have him as my third best safety.
Ooh.
I know he's almost universally number one, and maybe I'm just looking at it from a Niners standpoint, but I actually have him as my safety number 3. But he's a good player. He's big and he's physical. He's not as physical as you would expect for how big he is. To me, that was my personal opinion watching his video. But he is always around the ball. He only got 1 interception in his 3 years, which kind of concerns me. Because the Niners need their safeties to be able to play back and up. So his ability to play the deep third kind of concerns me a little bit. So I don't know that he's the greatest fit for the Niners, but I think he's going to be a good player for someone in the league. He's just not my favorite guy.
Yeah, as Horst said, he's a big guy. He's physical. He's a willing tackler, which I think is something we talk about a lot. Is maybe they don't have the big statistical tackle numbers that you're looking for a guy in the box, but he's not someone who shies away from contact. He definitely is willing to get up in the box. The best comparison I've seen of him so far that someone compared him to was that I liked and kind of stood out to me was Jonathan Abrams with the willingness to tackle. I can kind of see it.
I see that.
I don't think he's as bad in coverage as Abrams is right now, but I think he has some solid things. He's not a really big go up and get the ball type of guy. As Horst said, 1 interceptions in the 3 years that he's played. But he has a lot of starts under his belt. He's played a lot of games. He's a very well-versed safety. He understands a lot. He can definitely fit in that role of kind of both boxes. I am a little confused about him being the number 1 safety on a lot of teams' boards. I think he's going to go earlier than he probably should, because I don't think he's the best safety in this draft, but he's definitely up there as one of them. I don't think there's a huge gap between number 1 and, let's say, like number 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think he's going to go in the first round, and I think he's going to go, probably pretty close to that number 20 area, 20 to 25 is where you'll see him come off the board, and somebody will get great value there. This is a good player. He's very fast. He has elite traits. He's a good player. I liked watching him overall. I thought he did things well. Showed good technique. He was able to cover, what he needed to do at TCU. He really just he does his part. I don't think he's anything flashy. Like you said, the ball skills are a little thing to be worried about with the lack of turnovers. But those things, depending on scheme, can also change. You've seen players that weren't great, getting turnovers in college become great, players in the NFL with causing turnovers. So it is something that can change. It could be the system. It could be where he's playing, what he's asked to do. But I like the size and the athletic ability that he has. So I think that translates. I think he is pretty close to the number 1 safety. I differ from you guys a little bit. I'm not going to outright say he's my number 1 guy because there's a guy coming up that I think might be my number 1 guy. But this guy's real close.
And that's the boat that I'm in as well, is the next guy that we're going to talk about, the safety from Oregon, Mr. Javon Holland, as the guy that I think we all kind of feel is probably one of the better safeties, if not maybe a really good fit in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Horst, go ahead and speak first, but I think he might be the best safety in the draft.
Yeah, that's who I have as my number one safety is Javon Holland. He's a little bit smaller than Trevon Moehrig, but he comes off a lot more athletic on video. Also, his 2018 year, he had 5 picks. I know he had none in 2019, but he's at least shown the ability to be a ball hawk. I think he's more athletic, and I think he's finds the ball better in deep coverage than Moehrig. I think he's a willing tackler, but not a great one yet. But that comes with being a little smaller. But I think, once again, I'm talking strictly for the 49ers point of view. He's more interchangeable to play the box and the deep thirds than Trevon Moehrig is. That's why I have him above Moehrig.
I think he's significantly better in coverage as well. I think that's one of his strengths, is the coverage aspect of the game. He can stick him in zone. You can match him up on guys one-on-one. He can do a lot of different things. And the speed for him, he's a quick dude. He can get downhill and make some tackles in the box that other guys can't, because they just don't have the speed and they don't play with the physicality that he plays at. One of the weird knocks I saw on him, on some people that were reporting him, was size. They thought he was undersized to potentially play safety. And I think I was reading that and I was like, I don't know what world you're living in, but okay. I mean, you can roll with that analysis all you want. I think this guy has probably the most untapped potential, and we haven't seen him in a full year, so you don't know how much he's developed. There's obviously the rust concerns. I think that's going to make him fall a little bit in terms of like where people will want to take him, because he didn't play in 2020. But like you, Ant, I feel this guy might be the best one in the draft, and I think he can just do so many different things in the Niners offense. The question is, though, do they really want to take a safety that early?
Yeah, that is going to be a big question, and I'm not sure that they really will want to take a safety that early unless he is that dynamic. Like you said, he's great in coverage. And like I've told you before, I don't care about numbers. I don't care about size and all that stuff. I care about what they do on the film. And this guy's film just, jumps off the screen as what he can do. He can run with receivers, which is hard to do as a safety. I think that's why they like Tarvarius more too. He's got that ability to be able to run and keep up with these guys. This guy can scheme fit in anything. He can fill any role. So he's a guy that you could play, in a rookie season. You could play him as the third, safety in a nickel, and then eventually he could develop into something else. I think that he would be a great fit for the 49ers. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to take him where they need to take him. But if they did, 100% behind this move. Great fit, great player. Don't care about his size because he's going to make plays, and I would love to have him making plays for the 49ers.
Agreed 100%. The next guy on the list is another member of that Syracuse secondary, the vaunted Syracuse secondary. It really makes you wonder, with this many talented guys back there, what the heck is going on down there with the Syracuse football team and the Fighting Orangemen. But there is no question that Andre Cisco is one talented dude.
Yep.
Believe it or not, Andre Cisco would be my safety one had he not torn his ACL. I really liked watching him. He just constantly seems to be getting his hands on the football. Whether by intercepting it, he's great at ripping the ball out, punching the ball out from people that have already caught it, or running backs. I think he's a pretty good tackler. To be honest, I didn't see too much wrong with him other than he tore his ACL this year. I know his 40 times projected to be 4.5, but he looked fast on the field in the videos I watched. He's a playmaker to me. Now, obviously, he has to come back right from that ACL, and that's why I have him third. But I really think in the second round, maybe even third round because of his knee, someone might pick themselves up a baller, because I think this guy's a playmaker.
For sure. This guy definitely is. 13 career total interceptions, and that's just between his freshman and his sophomore campaign. He had 7 as a freshman, as a true. I mean, that's nuts. You don't see that very often. 7 when you're stepping on the field for the first time. And this year got cut a little short with the freak ACL injury. Not like an on-the-field planting or hit in pregame warm-ups. torn ACL. So that's concerning, but it's one of those things that's just a freak accident. You can't really knock a guy for that. That doesn't necessarily mean he's got an injury history piling up. He did miss some games as a sophomore, some nicks and bruises and some bang-up stuff, but I think that was just trying to keep him healthy more than it was like big concerns. He's got arguably some of the best ball skills in terms of going up and getting the ball and going up and playing the ball. He's got size. He can go up against tight ends. He's great in single high coverage as well. He's probably not the best in the box kind of guy. It's not that he's not willing. He just hasn't shown to be the best tackler in the world. But if he's a willing tackler, sometimes technique stuff can fix some of that. So if you're looking for a guy, though, that you need to solidify coverage-wise, and if you're not certain on Tavarius Moore being the best cover guy in the world, he might be a great pick because you might be able to get him later because of the injury history and the big ACL injury this past season. You might be able to get him a little bit later in the draft, and he might be a guy that you can plug and play on nickel down as well.
Yeah, I think I would be worried about him if this was 15 years ago. You know, with the way medicine is now, an ACL tear is not what it used to be. These guys bounce back. Usually don't miss a beat. Some of them even come back better, which is just crazy to think about. But I think it's, to me, the one thing that just jumps off is the fact that he causes interceptions. He makes turnovers. That is something the 49ers have seriously been lacking. Not to mention the fact that he could land in that third round where they have a compensatory pick. So to me, this is where it first starts really making sense for the 49ers as selection. I think that they could go this route. And the way that he causes turnovers, the way that Trill Williams causes turnovers, makes me really appreciate the secondary coach for Syracuse. They're doing a good job of making sure these guys are, causing issues and making plays. And that's what you need in the NFL. Turnovers are so big in the game. So getting a guy that can do it is important. Now, this guy has, to me, the same size and stuff as Javon Holland. So he's not that much different. I think that he is a step behind Javon Holland as far as skill set. It's not as polished technique-wise, and he's still got some things to work on. But overall, I think he's a very excellent player in the third to fourth round, especially third round. I think, like you guys said, if he wouldn't have torn his ACL, you'd be talking about this guy in the late second round. But now it'd probably go in the third because of the ACL, just because people are concerned, and that's where his value is. But if the 49ers went there, another good pick.
I'd be excited for that one.
Yeah.
Next up, though, Ant, a guy you should be somewhat familiar with, seeing
Maybe.
as he is a Seminole.
Maybe.
Why don't you go ahead and kick him off for us?
Hamson Nasraldin from Florida State. I mean, right away, look at the size. 6'4", 212 pounds. He has tremendous ranginess. What I liked about him the most, I think, was the fact that he's like on blitzes, he's like a missile. I mean, he just goes and he flies up and he makes plays. He can still put weight on his frame. He's a good tackler. He can make all the coverages. He can cover everything. He can play zone. I like the fact he's 6'4", 212 because that matches up with tight ends, and that's what you're looking for. I think at first, he has free safety skills, but could develop into a box safety as well because of his tackling and how physical he can play. This is a guy that I love. I mean, I really do. He fits the scheme, and he's a guy that I've just watched play. And so he's somebody that definitely the 49ers should be interested in that late third comp pick to the fourth round. 100% behind this guy because he can make plays, and he could definitely make plays for the 49ers.
Yeah, another guy I actually really liked was Hamson Nasraldin.
Nasraldin, yeah.
I think, once again, I know I've said this a few times already in these things, no offense, but stuck on those crappy Florida State teams. So, he's not getting the attention he deserves. That is not a shot at Ant or at Florida State fans.
It's a shot.
That is a fact. They haven't been very good the last couple of years.
That's true.
So I don't think he's quite getting the love he deserves. If you look at his size, you think, oh, there's a box safety. But when you watch his video, he definitely has the potential to be able to play both. I think he's not a day one starter kind of guy in the Niners system because they would want him being able to play in back as well, and he probably needs some work on that. But I definitely think he has the athletic ability to do it. He's a little bit more of a project, like you said, later around. Mm-hmm. But I like him. He'll come hit you right in the face, which I always enjoy in football. You don't have to worry about him as a tackler. He's one of those safeties that receivers better look out for. Unfortunately, that's becoming a little bit less of a big thing in football.
It's true.
Unfortunately. But, still, running backs, receivers, you better look out when Nasraldin's on the field because he'll come hit you. And I think he's not getting enough credit for the athlete he is.
I think they look at the size. I think they looked at the 6'4" and just think, maybe a little too long, a little too lengthy. Maybe he doesn't have the speed or the shiftiness or just some of those other qualities. And he didn't have a butt ton of interceptions either. So they look at that and immediately are going to knock the guy's size. Don't have the picks with that size. Maybe you should have the picks. But if you want to look at just numbers, statistics wise, the dude is probably the best in the box safety coming out of college right now. You can stick him in the box and be comfortable that you get yourself a run stopper.
Agreed.
He had 101 tackles as a junior, 91 as a sophomore, and then this year was cut short because he had a little bit of a knee issue. But he came back and looked pretty solid in the Senior Bowl. I mean, it wasn't incredible, but when you're coming off knee stuff, how incredible can you look with that amount of time and just with the craziness of COVID football? It's not easy to do. So if you're looking for a guy that you can plug and play in the box, and the Niners need safeties that can come and play in that box role on downs, especially to take some pressure off of Ward and take some pressure off of Tavarius Moore, this is a guy that fits that mold and fits that role right now. You don't have a whole lot you need to worry about there. His stuff is a little more coverage, maybe with running backs and speed at the running back position at the NFL level have some issues. But you're not looking for a guy right now with where he's probably going to go in the draft that you're looking to, like, as Horst said, come in and play right away, start. He's going to have time to develop. He's got time to work. He's got time to get comfortable in the system that D'Amico Ryans is going to be implementing. He's not a bad fit at all.
And could be a great special teams contributor.
Yes.
Absolutely. Next guy on the list is a dude that I'm fairly familiar with, and it's the guy that I've been plugging a whole lot to these two gentlemen over here because for some reason, I don't know why, I watched a lot of this guy play, especially when he was a freshman at Texas. Caden Stearns. Before I get into my stuff, and start with you. How do you feel about him? I don't think you're as high on him as I am.
No, I'm not. I think he's more pigeonholed in what he can do. I know that you said that he, had a lot of great performances when he was, younger as far as in coverage, but I thought his coverage was lacking, and he's kind of struggles a little bit in that area. If you're looking for somebody that can help stop the run, this is a guy that can do it. He can play in the box. But to me, one area that the 49ers have always struggled is with the second safety in coverage. Jaquiski Tartt wasn't always the best. And then, last year, especially when Marcel Harris gets on the field, you struggle in that area. This guy, I don't believe, is much different than Marcel Harris. That would be kind of what I would see him as a run stopper, more of a weak side, more of an outside linebacker type that, has some coverage skills. But to me, that's the real big hole in his game is being consistent in the coverage game.
Safeties were the last thing I watched film of, and I already knew how excited Alex was about this guy, and I really wanted to like him because of how much Alex liked him. Wasn't a fan. Yeah. I don't think he's good in coverage. I think you pretty much stole what I was going to say. I think he's Marcel Harris. I think he's a really good special teams player, high effort guy. He'll stick on the back end of an NFL roster for that. But I think his biggest potential as far as getting on the field is as a linebacker in a big nickel situation. I just don't see it in coverage with him. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong for him. And I think he should have went back to school for another year.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
I think for him, part of the reason he didn't is because of the injuries. He has not been able to stay healthy the last 2 years. He has dealt with an injury bug fairly significantly, and I think he's trying to just capitalize on what he did as a freshman because that freshman campaign he put together was an impressive freshman campaign. The 4 picks that he had, a lot of great defensive, just pass breakups, in coverage, great. And this is where we're going to differentiate the three of us. You guys feel he's a fairly solid tackler and he needs work in coverage. I'm actually inverted on you guys. I think his tackling is one of his bigger issues as a player, and his coverage hasn't been as bad as you guys are saying. One of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong on this, or maybe we're all wrong and he's perfect across the board. I doubt that's the case, but I think this guy has a lot of upside and potential. I do like him a lot. I don't like him early, and the main reason I don't like him early is the health. He has not stayed healthy. He has had his list of injuries is long, and it's complex, and it's not great, and it's not clean. I just worry that if you take this guy too early, you're not going to get him on the field. He's going to be dealing with stuff. He's definitely a guy that I could see them looking at late round 5, 6, somewhere in there that you can take him. He's definitely a project. He has things he needs to work on, but I think his ceiling is so high because the things he put down on tape as a freshman were impressive. Seeing where he came from, what he did. I think he needs to get into a right system. I think he needs to get into a stable environment. Texas has been kind of all over the place with the coaching staff and the things they've been dealing with as a program. It's not necessarily the best environment for a young guy to try and grow and develop, and their defense has been suspect. The entirety of the time he's been there, with the exception of his freshman year where he excelled. Was he a product of a successful system, or was he part of that? Time will tell. This guy's either going to pan out or he's not. I hope for the best for this guy because I think he has a lot of potential. I think he has a lot of upside, and I think he could develop into a fairly decent safety in the league.
I appreciate your conviction.
There it is. Not going to back down from Caden. Don't fail me now, fam. Don't fail me now.
He'll be out of the league in 2 years.
Let's not say that. The next guy on the list, Richie Grant out of UCF, the national champions of all national champions. How are we feeling on this guy, Horst?
This is actually a guy I really liked after watching his video.
I knew it.
I think he's a sleeper. He played, for the national champions at UCF. Had a big time years for them.
Sure.
He had, 7, 8 picks in 2018? 6, excuse me. He had 6 interceptions in 2018. He played well every year he was there. He's a guy that I know showed up and showed out at the Senior Bowl, so he might not be as much of a secret as he was. And as always, because I'm that guy, he brings the wood. And that's what I enjoy about him. His tape, if you watch it, has a lot of ooh when he hits people, and that's what I enjoy about watching defensive backs.
I like him. I like him. I don't know if I like him as much, but I do like him.
So much better than Caden Stearns.
We'll see about that. My biggest issue with him is if you try and go man situations, he's not as great in man coverage with some of his footwork stuff and his skills. But for the most part, sleeper prospect is exactly what he is. He has a lot of potential. You put it on there. Good in zone.
Mm-hmm.
Good run defender. Solid tackler. His numbers show and suggest that. He's got a lot. He's got some fairly good pass breakup numbers, especially when they're playing their zone coverage. Tackles, 109 in 2018. He had 70 in the last 2 seasons. He had 72 in 2020 in 9 games. Mm-hmm. That's an impressive number. Almost 10 a game from the safety position. So you don't worry about him necessarily in the box or coming up or being a willing tackler. He obviously is. And as we all know, Niners in the nickel. Niners bring up safeties in the box. They do that a lot. A lot of teams in the NFL do that.
Yeah. My
question is just how high is this guy going to end up going?
Probably in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I think that would be the hotbed for him, late 3rd, early 4th, probably 4th. And I think he is a fit for the 49ers because they don't ask their safeties to play a lot of man coverage. So him being great in zone is somebody that they'd be interested in. You know, you can look at the slide and see the long arms and, that kind of thing that he's going to be able to use to his advantage. If you were being nitpicky, you would look at the weight and think that he needs to put on a little bit more, weight and size, which I'm sure he will, getting into a good program, and just building up your muscles and stuff like that. Yeah. He'll do it. But I think all the things you talked about are what we're looking for, and that's why he would make sense. Once again, in that 4th round, I think is somewhere the Niners could pick. If for some reason this guy fell, we have 3 5th-round picks, 100% make a move there. I don't think that'll happen, though, because I think somebody's going to fall in love with this guy because he's just one of those guys that you don't know exactly what it is, but it draws you to him. And I think he's a great player, and he's going to be a fit somewhere. The way that I like Tarvarius more when they drafted him, I like this guy the same way. If 4th round comes around, I would 100% draft him if they haven't made another move. But they might address it sooner than the 4th round. But him or Nasraldin in the 4th round, I think, are both great selections if the 49ers are interested. 2 entirely different safeties.
I think Grant would make a really good 3rd safety.
Yeah. He would make a great safety as a 3rd safety. Would you take a 3rd safety in the 4th round? Is that enough value?
No, I mean like this year.
Oh, this year, 100%. The same things I said, earlier about other guys. Right, your nickel safety, 100%.
Oh, definitely big time.
And just in case Jimmy Ward gets hurt.
You never know. You never know with Jimmy Ward. He
likes to break his whole arm.
Well, if you're looking for a guy that's going to be sort of a backup option or a 3rd option, I don't know if you necessarily go with this next gentleman, and that's only because there's some questions about the decision making. He got into the motorcycle accident in 2021, so he's dealing with a little bit of something. Don't know if you like it, but for the most part, this guy is solid, top to bottom in pretty much every category. He doesn't do anything extremely great, but he's good across the board. Richard LeCount? I'm going to go with LeCount. We're going to hope it's that, and we're going to hope his first name's not actually Richard LeCount, and it's a fancy name. If you're watching this, let us know in the comment section down below. But the 5'11 senior from the Georgia Bulldogs.
One thing that I really liked about him when I watched the film, and that's why I put on the slide, was he took good angles.
Yeah.
So many times with 49ers players, they take bad angles, and then, big plays happen because of it. This is the guy that took big angles, or good angles. And then, the other thing that I noticed and watched was that he diagnoses quickly, which is huge when you can recognize what is going to happen that the offense is going to do. When you realize, okay, they can run, one of these route combinations, and you figure it out real quick. Or is it a run or a pass? And he's able to do that. And I think those are the things that, make him a possibility for the 49ers. It was somebody that definitely intrigued me more after watching film than before. I think before I heard his name, seen his size, and was like, I don't know if he really fits. But, once again, I get past the size and look at the film, and it's like, maybe he does make sense for the 49ers. In kind of that 5th round area, I think he would be a good possibility for them there. Like you said, somebody that could bring depth. I don't know 100% if he's better than Jared Maiden and those guys that we already have, but you never know. It's in the eye of the beholder.
His tape was interesting to me, what I watched, because there was never anything where I was like, man, we got to get this guy. But there was also never anything that made me say, man, this guy stinks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think he just was a solid player. That's what I got from him. He does have a little bit of a nose for the ball in coverage. And he played in the SEC on Georgia, so he was coached well, and he's played against good competition. So I think if you're talking 5th, 6th round, I'm good with that. But I wouldn't look at him anywhere in front of that. I think he's a smart guy that's probably a backup safety in the NFL and special teamer, but I think he is a guy that'll stick around the NFL unless he decides to ride more motorcycles.
Each their own. This dude, though, statistically has done a lot of good things and a lot of great. 2019, 4 interceptions, 3 pass defense, 2 forced fumbles. So the guy can create turnovers. He's a problem. Did the same thing in 2018, had 2 forced fumbles and an interception. So he can create turnovers. He doesn't have the ball skills of like a Cisco, and he's not like the tackler that Nasraldin is, but he's somewhere right in the middle of all those guys. He can kind of does it. He does it all. As Horst said, you watch the tape and you're like, there's something I like about this guy, but it's just there's nothing that makes you go like, holy crap, this dude is special. Mm-hmm. And that brings concerns about what his ceiling may be. Is he what he's going to be? Is just a solid player and that's it? Because if that's what it is, you don't want to take a guy like that early. You'd rather take a guy like that late, and he's a solid player,
right?
Plays around and has a job throughout the league for years and years to come, or is he just scratching the surface of what his potential could be? And his potential right now is already solid across the board, and he could be great across the board as he gets older and as he develops throughout the league. High risk, probably high reward, medium reward scenario. Like you said, probably goes later, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there down the road. I like him a lot, though. He does a lot of good things. He doesn't do anything really bad. He doesn't have any big concerns.
Agreed.
So that
except for that he likes to do biker boys.
Except for biker stuff, other than the biker stuff, it is what it is. Next, it's Horst's favorite person. Everyone get excited. Yay! Woo! It's his boy. I'll let you go. You're
what? My boy, Blue.
You know what? I'm not even going to say, I'm going to let you go. Just have at it.
We've got Talan Noah Hufanga here, the Samoan missile, bringing the great lineage of Samoan safeties at USC. True. And if Taylor Mays was Samoan, it would really be a great lineage. Talan Noah Hufanga is a guy I really liked in college as a USC fan. He was fun to watch. He hit hard. He's one of those guys like Quan Alexander was for the Niners as far as getting everyone hyped all the time. Always fired up, always ready to play. Liked to get in the opponent's face after he made a play and let him know he made a play. It was always fun to watch. He's got a lot of swag. But I'm going to be honest, he's in the NFL. He's strictly an in-the-box safety to me. I don't think he can cover the deep very well. And I don't know that he can cover in man very well, to be honest, at the NFL level. He's a good tackler, but I think he might be one of those guys that's relegated to special teams and a backup or nickel situation. I think he's a guy that'll make the NFL stick around, but I don't know if I ever see him being a star in the NFL. I think he's a little bit stiff in coverage.
Would you say poor man's Jamal Adams?
Yeah.
Very poor
Destitute.
man.
Except probably smarter and better to have a conversation with.
All right, then. I'm not a big fan of Jamal Adams over here. But that's beside the point, because the more I watch tape on him, the more I like him. But it's not catapulting him into the stratospheres of my favorite safeties in the draft. He does have a lot of concerns in some coverage stuff. I think he hits hard. I think he's laid the smacketh down all over some Oregon people's candy behinds. And I like that. You like to see those kind of things. He can kind of bring some energy. He's kind of be a little bit of a spark plug. He's a guy definitely who can easily find a role in a niche special teams places. Will he fit in San Francisco with some of the coverage concerns? Maybe, maybe not. I really don't know. I haven't watched enough of his coverage tape. I've watched more highlights of him. I haven't really dissected as much film as I probably should on him, seeing his horse loves the man to death. So I definitely got to do some research there. But late round flyer, someone you're going to look at to try and bring in? Yeah, but will he be there? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't think he makes it past the 4th round.
All right.
I think somebody's going to see something in him. He's a great leader. You know, you just bring, like Horst said, he brings the energy, but he's always directing traffic, making sure people are in the right spots. That is something that can't be ignored. He brings a presence with him. He works good with the DBs. I mean, he really does. I mean, when he's in zone coverage, he's always kind of in the right spots. He doesn't get out of control or lose an assignment. So you can always count on him. He's dependable. When it comes to making plays around the line of scrimmage, I don't know if there's that many guys that are better than him at that. He comes up, if you're running a quick screen and he's around, you're getting smacked in a big way. So I actually think that he would make sense for the 49ers, especially in the 4th round. To me, he would make sense because you've already decided that you like a player like Marcel Harris, like Jaquiski Tart, and I think that he would fit that role because he is that kind of player. He's a strong safety. You have Tarvarius Moore, you have Jimmy Ward, and they're kind of like more, equal, in what they do. Yeah. Where this guy would be your traditional box safety. I don't know if he's a starter, but for them initially, especially, but there is a role for him. They could obviously, play him in some downs, obvious run downs, or in certain sets with multiple tight ends. I think he would fit nice in that sort of system. I think he's an upgrade over Marcel Harris, so that's another reason why I would be interested in doing it. If you're talking about bringing in depth, why not bring in depth that is better than somebody you already has with depth?
And my favorite part, like I said, after he smacks you on the screen,
he lets you know.
He lets you know he smacked you.
I like it.
Horst is a big fan of letting people know.
Well, especially what he did to UCLA. It's
good stuff. It's high quality.
All time started a fight.
Up next, a guy from Middle Tennessee State, Mr. Reed Blankenship, who some people have labeled as small at 6'1". Absolutely incredible, because he's not as small as the guy that's on our list next. But from Middle Tennessee State, Mr. Blankenship. Ant, you're the one who turned me on to this guy. I want you to go first. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it was kind of a running joke when we did one of our mock drafts that we should draft Blankenship. Kind of just, I think, just because of his, no one knew who he was from Middle Tennessee. And then when I put on the film, it was like, actually, he's not that bad. And I think he's going to be a late round guy, a special teams contributor right away. But there are things to like about him. There really is. If you watch the film, he's actually way more solid than you would think. He was a leader for the Middle Tennessee team. So he's definitely somebody that late in the draft, you're like, you know what? We need to add a special teams guy, somebody with, a great personality, somebody that fits, that works hard, that plays hard, that could develop into something. This is a guy. He's going to go, overlooked because of where he went to school and, all that good stuff. But he makes plays. And I think that when you're looking for guys, you want guys that make plays. I don't care at what level they're playing at or who they're playing at, just as long as they're around the ball and making, plays on the ball. So I think he could be a possibility for the 49ers late in the draft, especially as a special teams contributor, nickel safety like we've talked about before. This guy would be perfect for that role.
Okay, Reed Blankenship. I've not watched any film of, so I'm going to pass here.
Smart man.
Sorry, folks.
Well, he intercepted it because he's got great ball skills.
He does. He does have great ball skills. In fact,
I'm honest.
No, that's true. Hey, that's why we love you, man. That's why we love you.
And he's the only one to get a white slide, by the way.
He is the only one to get a white slide. 8 interceptions in his career.
No, it's because it looks nice.
It's because it looks nice, yeah. 8 interceptions in his career. The impressive stat is that he had 15 tackles for loss in his freshman and sophomore campaigns, and then all of a sudden those numbers dropped off and people be like, well, what, was he not a willing tackle anymore? No, he developed other aspects of his game, and he was no longer needed as an in-the-box type of guy. They started moving him back into coverage and playing him more out there, and his pass defense numbers started going up. He had his last 3 years of college, 11 pass defenses as well. So this is a guy who can get his hand on the ball. He's smart in coverage. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's there. He didn't get beat a whole lot in Conference USA. Now, was that because of talent that he's playing against? Potentially, but there are plenty of talented guys in that conference and in smaller football that's not, big FBS schools that make the pros and blow up and have huge careers. Just because you play at a small school or you're not necessarily facing the best talent in the world doesn't mean that you're not going to get into the NFL and it's in your game and your skills and what your understanding of the game of football is going to translate. This guy has the potential for all of those things. He checks a lot of the boxes. Not only is he a willing tackler, he's a great tackler in the box. There are some size maybe concerns in terms of weight, but that can be fixed. You can add muscle. You can add mass. Those things can be added on. He doesn't have to have them right now. He just has to have the intelligence and the things necessary to put himself in the right position so he can make plays. And even though he may not be making them right now in year 1, he may be making them in year 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. This is definitely a guy that you're investing in. It's not a guy that you're hoping is going to blow up right away. And he's a good value pick late in the draft because of all the things that he can already do.
Yeah, 100%. I think you covered it very well. And I'm glad you watched him because he's fun to watch.
He's a lot of fun to watch.
We'll have to get the big guy over here to watch it too because I think he'll actually enjoy Blankenship's film.
Absolutely. And if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's fun.
I like his last name, so let's start.
It is a wonderful last name. Next up on the list, gentlemen, Sean Davis out of Florida. Again, I brought up earlier size. This is a guy who's got some size issues at 5'10", okay, under 200 pounds. I watched a lot of film of Sean Davis. What I do like about Sean Davis is, as you put on the slide there, he is rangy.
Yes.
That guy gets to things that he should not get to at all whatsoever. You can do a variety of different things with him. Florida was even contemplating moving him to corner this year and moving some pieces around because he was a guy they had to have on the field. They were thinking about maybe playing one of their younger guys who was a safety this year at safety, moving this guy to corner and keep making sure he was on the field at all times. He can just do a lot of different things. He's definitely a guy that's going to go late in the draft because of the size, because he isn't as maybe dominant as a tackler as he should be, but he's pretty gosh darn good in coverage, and he's got speed. You can play him on special teams. He's going to fit in somewhere. He just may not have an every down role niche with an NFL team, but if you're looking for depth at the position, a guy you can try and develop into something, he's a pretty good fit.
What's nice about him is he fits in any system. So if you're in need of a safety, it doesn't matter what you run. You can draft this guy and you can use him. He's a weapon, and like we talked about in other times, when you have a weapon, if you have a smart defensive coach, they can put that guy into a role where he can be successful. You can play this guy in the box, you can play him back deep. But you're right, the ranginess, and we run a cover 3 a lot, and you have a deep third. This guy could run from one hash mark to the other and make a play, no problem with the ball in the air. So he makes sense. I know the one knock I saw on film is the guy would have a lot more interceptions if he used 2 freaking hands to catch the ball.
He's a little flary.
That's why I even put the picture up with the slide with him with one hand up. It just fit. But overall, I think he's a good player and a good option for somebody that's looking for a player late in the draft that can add. First off, special teams.
Yes.
There's going to be one fantastic special teams player,
yeah.
One of the top guys coming out of the draft in special teams. And then after that, initially the nickel role as a safety, maybe even playing him some at the nickel corner in the slot, especially against tight ends, stuff like that. He could definitely do all that. Lots of versatility. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of him until you told me about him. I watched the film, liked it, and the more I watched, the more I like. But catch the ball. Use 2 hands, man.
2 hands, Sean. Hey, don't start turning into
yeah.
I won't even bring his name up. It's just gonna make me sad. Horst.
I really wanted to hate him because he went to Florida.
I know.
But he's an interesting guy to me. He's kind of one of those jack of all trades, master of none kind of guys. And I don't mean that negatively. I actually mean it positively.
Positive.
And I think he can. I actually think he has more upside than Alex just said. I think he can develop into a starting player. I think he's really raw. I think athletically he's a guy you want on your team, and as you both said, fantastic special teams player. I actually would take him over both LeCounte and Stearns.
Oh my.
Ooh, okay.
So that's my personal opinion, but I agree he needs to catch the ball with 2 hands.
Definitely does. The next 3 guys, and these are the last 3 guys we got on our list, they are corners that could translate to the safety position. So if you haven't watched our corners episode already, after we get done here, click that card right now above my head and go check that out, where we break down these corners a little more in depth than we're going to right now. But these 3 guys are 3 guys we think could translate, starting with the dude from Washington, Mr. Elijah Molden.
He translates into anything because this guy is just so smart and he's always in the right spots. I've said before that this guy reminds me of the Honey Badger because, the Honey Badger found, everywhere to be and make tackles. On our live stream, I talked about the fact I was watching Davis Mills play Washington, and this guy was making every single tackle. He is fantastic. I think that he will start as a nickel corner in the NFL, but could eventually translate to a free safety and be a pretty darn good one. So if somebody took him with that thought of making him a free safety, they would 100% be correct, because it doesn't matter if he's corner or safety. He's one of the top players in the draft.
What I just said about Sean Davis, he is the rich man's Sean Davis.
There you go.
About being able to do so many things. Rich man. He is able to do so many things on the football field. He doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. I tell you what, if Elijah Molden was 6'2" and 200 pounds, he would be a first-round pick.
Probably be the number 1 corner in the draft.
Seriously, I really like him. I think people are discounting his size too much. If you want to put him at nickel, that's fine. If you want to put him at outside corner, that's fine. If you want to put him at safety, that's fine. I think the guy's just a football player and will make plays wherever you put him.
Yeah, there's not another player in the draft like him.
Nutter.
Not at all. This kid is special. And the football IQ and intelligence is next level. And we talked about this in that corner special, and we brought it up in multiple live streams. He understands the game of football. He just gets it. He knows what teams are trying to do scheme-wise.
Yep.
He's a student of the game. He watches a butt ton of film. He probably watches more film than we do, and that's just naturally impressive.
And he's swaggy.
And he is pretty gosh darn swaggy.
That's saying a lot.
I like everything about this guy. I don't think he's going to not work in the NFL. I think he's going to find a niche somewhere. It's just a matter of where someone wants to give him his reps and his opportunities, whether it's safety, whether it's a nickel role, whether it's a slot role, whether it's a corner. This dude is going to be in the league for a long time to come. He's going to be what the prototype is, I think, for secondary players coming up here in the future, is a guy who can fit a lot of different roles, do a lot of different things, because the more boxes you check, the more valuable you are.
That's 100% correct. I'm with you on that.
Know who I think should be all over this guy, but I hope they're not, because I think he's a stud, is the Raiders.
Should be.
With how bad their secondary is.
Yeah.
Or the Cowboys?
Once again, hopefully not, but
we'll see. Only time.
Hopefully the 49ers.
The 49ers. The next guy, shocking, it's another guy from Washington, gentlemen, Keith Taylor. And how do we feel on this guy?
Hey, he translates to safety real well. We look at the size and everything, the big, we talked about him being a cover 3 corner. Kind of lacks the man skills, but we talked about this in our corner episode, that him translating to safety makes sense because he's got some corner skills. Him playing against Travis Kelce or those type of tight ends in the slot makes a lot of sense. You could put him in there and run a man scheme and feel like you are taken care of. He's going to put on more size. He's got a good frame.
He's got a lot to add on to.
Yeah, and he's a willing tackler, not a great tackler, not even a good tackler right now, but he's a willing tackler. And I think that those things could develop. If you drafted him now and then developed him behind Tarvarius Moore, next year he might be able to take over. And who knows what he could become. He has a lot of potential, and with the measurables, he could do something, and the coverage skills would be kind of unmatched for safeties in the league, especially with big safeties.
Yeah, Keith Taylor, I think, unlike Molden, Keith Taylor has to switch to safety to make it in the NFL, to me. I don't think he's good enough, like you said, in man coverage to play corner in the NFL. He would have to be taken by a couple of very specific teams to stay at corner.
But couldn't he? Like the Raiders, couldn't they? They're going to run a cover 3. Maybe the Cowboys possibly running a cover 3.
Yeah, but I think his best chance is free safety.
Agreed. I was just...
But you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe that he could play in a strict zone system, he could do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Absolutely. But yeah, like Horst said, I think the big thing is for him, if you want to be more diverse, if you want more options, you're going to have to make that switch. What if he does? Up to him, whether or not he wants to make that sacrifice. Is he a guy who's dreamt his entire life of being a corner in the NFL? If that's the case, he's probably less likely to make that decision. That may pigeonhole him, but with his size, you would think with his size that he should be able to somewhat translate over into being a better man guy. The question is it speed? Is it technique? What is it exactly? All of it that he needs to work on. He does have a lot of the technique issues that he does need to work out and kind of iron out. But he could easily translate to either position and find himself having a nice long career in the NFL. And man, like that Syracuse secondary, these Washington secondary players are a pretty talented group.
They are. They definitely are.
Last up, gentlemen, Mr. Israel Mukuamu. I was so close yet so far. Another guy that we think can translate over. Look at the measurables there, gentlemen. That's an impressive stat line on just the measurables. Yeah. And you've watched probably the most film on this guy, I think, out of the three of us. Maybe. Yeah. I can't necessarily speak for Horst, but I know definitely more than me. How do you feel on him?
Well, he's got the same size as Nasraldin, which we said we really loved. He's just a little bit lighter, but this guy has legit corner skills. You could draft this guy and play him at corner for years and then translate him to safety. The more I watch, the more I like the possibility of drafting him because of the flexibility of playing him at corner, which we need big body corners anyways, or playing him, at the safety position, because I'm thinking once again, cover skills against big tight ends. With the way that the tight ends are switching this year, even you got more tight ends coming in. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Brevin Jordan, guys that are able to make plays in the open. This guy could cover them. You could go a man coverage, but even if you're in zone, this guy could lock them down. The length gives him the ability to make plays on the ball, good ball skills. So the versatility that he brings is really what I'm looking for, is a guy that can play corner and play safety. I think sometimes it's better to just draft a guy because of the talent, not because of specific fit, but because of what they could do and the things in the games that you could play with him.
Yeah, Kwamu is not like Taylor. I really think he's can play corner. In the past, I compared him, not the off-the-field issues, but to Brandon Browner, that played for the Seahawks during the Legion of Boom era.
You did.
And I think that's still a good comparison for him. Brandon Browner went undrafted and had to go to the CFL to make it to the NFL, where I think Kwamu will get drafted.
Fourth round.
But that for some reason, that's what he screams to me. He's big, he's physical, he's in your face, he can tackle, and he covers pretty good for how big he is as a corner.
Yeah, definitely. He checks all the size boxes, he checks the physicality boxes.
Yeah.
And then the best part about him too, and the thing that I think most people enjoy the most about a guy like that, is while he checks all those boxes, he has backed it up statistically with the ball skills, the pass defenses, breakups, the interceptions, and things of that nature, because he was getting tested a lot there at South Carolina, because they may have had a pretty good corner on the other side.
Could have, and that's the thing is, once again, the 49ers are going to call Muschamp, even though Muschamp isn't the coach there anymore. He gave them insight on Deebo Samuel. He gave them insight on Javon Kinlaw. He will give them insight on J.C. Horn and Israel Mukuamu. So they will have a good idea, and I think he's a voice that they trust.
I'd be curious to hear Deebo's opinion on Mukuamu.
Yeah, I've heard them talk about J.C. Horn and wanting him here, but I haven't heard them mention Mukuamu, at least from what I saw.
Yeah, that's what I'd be curious.
Maybe that's because he's playing it close to the vest.
And now remember, Mukuamu was a freshman his last year there. So.
It's true. So they may not have been as close. So
he probably doesn't know him as well.
Maybe that is.
We could ask Kinlaw.
Javon.
Kinlaw scares me.
He's a monster.
He is.
Did you see that video of him?
Yeah, I think everyone saw it.
It's terrifying.
It's definitely
the one of him with the animal in his mouth, or the one of him working out?
Both.
They're both scary.
Both are terrifying. Both of them are scary.
I feel like he could do that to you, carry you by your neck like that.
Why would you say that?
Because it's funny.
All right. Well, let us know what you think down below in the comments section. Do you like these safeties? Is there any safeties that we left out that you were absolutely in love with that we need to watch more film on and let you know what we think about them? If so, tell us about it down there. Don't forget to like the video as well. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And we can't stress this enough. Comment. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It pumps our content out to more people so that we can have bigger and better conversations with you. You know that sounds good. You know you want that. Comment down below.
Yep, and this will help get us prepared for future mock drafts that we're going to be doing as we continue to break down what the 49ers should do in the draft, especially since everything is changing with free agency. Needs have changed. Is safety a real need? Some people have been bringing it up in the comment section that it really is. This video came out at just the perfect time because I think people really want to know what the 49ers will do in the secondary.
Yeah, let us know if there's a safety that we didn't talk about, maybe from a school that you watch a lot, or put their name down there. We'll watch the film. And I need to take off and watch film of Reed Blankenship, apparently.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's gonna have to do that right now, so we might want to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think so. Hey guys, you know what time it is? Let's chalk another one up.
Oh, guys, Josh Rosen.